what does the QR code contain? Is it like their username? Is it just the username in a QR code format, or is there something special going on
Yeah,
in that QR
glad you
code?
asked. So each QR code is a unique QR code for a user. It is acting as an identifier, but it is a strong identifier. So it has a unique secret, as apart from having your identifier, your unique identifier ID. So that's how we know who you are. But also it has a unique secret.
So they don't need to set up a sign-in frequency and all of that. That's all just natively tied into the QR code.
Yeah. So that's where we have added another type of QR code. So there are two type of QR code on your profile, can be on your profile. One is standard, which is a primary, which you get when, which is a longer lived QR code. Right now we support up to 390 days of lifetime, and we might extend it later. So another one is if an app is using web sign-in view, which is just launching login.microsoft.com view, then they will get it out of box. But then user has to do 2 clicks before they are able to click QR code sign in.
Right. There
Yeah,
are other options.
yeah, and the reason we put it under 2 clicks because it is only applicable for small set of users, and we don't want to expose it to everyone. And we have published our best practices for frontline workers. Following the guidelines, you can make it secure. So a couple of suggestions from us are: number one, use our Entra ID conditional access policies. So you make sure you restrict the usage of QR code authentication within your network, in your stores,
Right.
and then on shared devices, because that's for what we have built it for, shared devices and compliant devices. I'm going to disappoint.
MFA.
I'm going to disappoint our listeners because, unfortunately,
Intro chat with Merrill's live, digging deep where techs thrive. From the latest hacks to cool updates, join the ride, don't be late.
Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Entra Chat. Today is an exciting topic that we're going to speak about, and to share with us is Anju Singh, who's joining us. She's a product manager at Microsoft, and she works in the Authentication Experiences team. And it's going to be all about the fancy new sign-in method that's just been added to Entra. Anju, thanks a lot for joining in.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Meryl, for inviting me. Hey folks, I'm a PM in identity and work on simple and secure authentication method for consumers and enterprise users. And recently we released this exciting, long-awaited feature for frontline workers, QR code authentication in Entra ID. It is in public preview, and we'll be talking more about that today, right, Meryl?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And we can just jump right in. There are so many questions that come to mind when we start seeing QR code sign in. What is it safe? Is it secure? Like, what is it for? Will it replace other things and so on? So I really want to get a lot of those questions answered.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you can just give us like a history of what is the problem space that you're trying to address with the QR code. What customers have been asking Microsoft.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you said it's long awaited
Yeah.
as well. So yeah, so there must be a lot of asks from folks.
Absolutely. So I have been looking into this problem for a couple of years, actually. It's been 3-4 years since customers
Okay.
have, at least in my knowledge, customers have been asking for something simple. And these customers are frontline organizations. So imagine, to give an example, what does it mean by frontline worker or organization? So for example, you may go to a retail store, let's say H&M, right? And at H&M, you might searching something at a floor and you do not find it, and you go to a store worker and you say, what, I'm looking for this, is it available or not? And they bring up a device which is like a thick device,
right,
like mobile,
yes,
but still thick, and it has a keypad, and they enter something to search the inventory and let you know, right, it's available in the store or not. So these are the frontline workers we're talking about. They are very niche specific persona. So they are temporary workers, maybe doing many number of shifts in a day. Sometimes they will be working at one store, sometimes another, and there are countries where they are not allowed to carry their personal phone on the floor, or maybe they are not as tech savvy. They might be using very old phone, not the latest
Right.
available phones. And since they are contract workers, temporary, they don't want to, and if they're allowed to carry their phone, they don't want to install an app for each of my companies asking, right? So they will have like multiple apps. So you can regulations you cannot force them by regulations to install any app or use their phone for authentication. So there are a variety of problems not being able to carry their personal device. If they carry, you cannot force them to use another app or use their phone for sign in, etc. So the only method they are left to authenticate with is username and password, which,
Right.
and username, we have your name, which could be long, and then we have
Yes.
at the rate, and then we have domain name, which could be long again, and then you have .com,
Yes.
and then you have a complex password on top of it. So imagine a
Right.
worker who has to pick up that device, and that is not a dedicated device. They share with other workers. That means if they keep it, go to another floor, pick the another device, then they have to enter their user and password again. So they are doing this multiple
Right.
times during the day. So they are entering a long username, complex password multiple times during the day. And they might be forgetting, and they might be mistyping, and that creates a support ticket. And so they find it very complex to do it, and especially on the devices which has tiny keypads. Yeah, so that's where the need of a simple authentication came from, that saves the time they spend on authenticating into devices rather than spending on uh, their actual job, which is to help customers in their store. Help, right? So that's their original kind of the goal is. Uh, so we are looking how to simplify that. And when you simplify something, so simplicity and security both are at the, and without any supplementing device, they are like at the opposite of a spectrum. So we try to find sweet spot between these two, and that's where we came up with the QR code authentication.
So I was just speaking with George from McDonald's, who was running identity over there, and they have like millions of users who are across the globe signing in. A lot of these first line workers, and he spoke about a very interesting way they had to do because they couldn't use any device. Like they had to fall back on like a paper based MFA method as well. Um, and there's a lot of challenges in this space, right? So
Yeah.
here the focus, I guess, is like more to be really quick, be able to quickly authenticate and sign in, and you people typing in even the username, like Entra supports the whole email address. You need to type in the full UPN,
Yeah.
and that's itself is a challenge. He was saying how in the Entra sign-in page it said it has email on it, and a lot of the frontline workers don't have email. So when they see it, they go like, oh, "Should I be typing my Gmail
Yeah, exactly. They don't have a
address?" Yeah,
Gmail.
and
Yeah.
they get confused.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
absolutely. Yeah.
there are right. So that it's a tricky space here, right? So the key focus here is you're trying to make that whole experience seamless, because anytime these folks spend on IT stuff versus selling, or doing the work, the store work, they can literally be losing a lot of money when you take across the entire organization, right? That people do.
Yep,
Cool.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, so you have summarized it. I just want to kind of add on what you summarized. Absolutely. Long username takes time, it's complex, and then passwords, you forget, then you go to helpless, then you ask them to reset. And then entering on those keypads is also, you mistype, then you type back, and all those things. So all these are the challenges with using username and password. And some organizations, they actually share the password, they use their employee ID or something, or they write on the paper, because they are not able to kind of memorize. So that also exists some places.
Yeah, and those are the challenges you are trying to overcome, right? People just using shared passwords, and because it's too difficult for them to be having their unique password and identity to sign in, or they don't sign in at all, right? Like it just stays for maybe the entire session or for the whole day signed in with somebody's identity, right? Okay, so that's interesting. Is it only for the devices then this QR code sign in was targeted at? What are the other sort of scenarios?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we designed it, we designed it for keeping in mind the frontline worker space and shared device space. This authentication still work on on your personal device, um, but when build it, all our scenarios are around shared device mode, and we also build it for our Teams app, which is a frontline worker app. So we to uh, get into Teams app quickly and use it for their day-to-day job. Also, we have right now, the limitation is that it is available only on mobile devices and iOS and Android tablets, because that is our key scenario. In the future, we might be expanding it to the desktop browsers and all. However, there is another organization who is interested in this feature. That is our education sector, because
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
because kids, you are expecting them to type their
Yeah.
username and then type the password. It's so difficult for them to do this at young age.
Yes.
So it's a difficulty. So a lot of EDU customers have, they want to enable it for their users and test it. So we have seen interest from them as well.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's one I didn't really think about. But yeah, they're like, and there again, the scale, right? Like you have hundreds of thousands of users, like when you take a given school and so on. Right. So let's dig into how it actually works. Like, can you walk us through the experience from like maybe this first the sign-in experience and then the admin side of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So from the user perspective, your admin or let's say your admin or your manager. So manager could be a delegated admin. They can use our My Stuff portal to manage QR code authentication. So imagine admin or your manager has given you a printed QR code. You're coming to work and we are onboarding you on this auth method. So we'll give you a printed QR code. Now, if you have a printed version, you can stick that to your badge, because then it will be easy to carry rather than carrying it right on your hand, or it can be printed to a badge as well. So that it is not lost. And then you are given a temporary pin as well, a digit pin. It's a 8-digit or more.
Right.
So
Okay.
when you're given that temporary pin, and then you go to sign in into your a shared device app, any app you're signing or web signing, any kind of signing you're doing at um, uh, signing into your app, then you scan that. You go to either, there are two options. One is that you might be using our web sign in that case you have to click on sign in options, and then click on to sign into an organization, then being able to scan the QR code. Or otherwise, if your company has optimized the entry point using our MSAL library, then you'll be able to just your QR code sign in entry point will be at the login page. So basically, you have a QR code, you chose to sign in with the QR code, then camera gets launched and we ask you permission. On shared device, we'll be bringing up we are bringing a feature where admins can suppress this camera prompt, but right now we have it for privacy reasons. So you say, yes, I want to allow it, and then you scan your QR code, then you enter your 8 or whatever is your temporary PIN, then you enter your PIN, and then you will be asked to change your PIN so that the PIN you choose, only you know it, nobody else know it. Then you change the PIN and then you sign in. So from subsequent sign-ins, you scan the QR code, enter PIN, that's it. And PIN is only digits, so it is easy to type in. And we have heard from customers that PIN is generally they have been already using for, let's say, iOS or other tablets, so they are used to it, and there are not many
Yeah.
as cases as forgetting complex passwords. So this is a user experience. So it's TLDR, scan the bring up your QR code to get it scanned by the share device camera. So device camera scans it, and then enter your PIN and then sign in.
Right. Okay. So that's a neat way, and they spend less time, right? So what does the QR code contain? Is it like their username? Is it just the username in a QR code format, or is there something special going on
Yeah,
in that QR
glad you
code?
asked. So each QR code is a unique QR code for a user. It is acting as an identifier, but it is a strong identifier. So it has a unique secret, as apart from having your identifier, your unique identifier ID. So that's how we know who you are. But also it has a unique secret, and the secret can only this QR code has the secret. Nobody
Right.
server, nobody else has this. So we know, yeah, it has secret, and then tenant ID and all those things we need to make sure to understand who you are, because you're not entering your
Right.
username, you're just scanning this QR code. So QR code here acting
Right.
as identifier, but it's a very unique identifier. If you lose it, then you have to get a new QR code. You cannot generate the same QR code
Right.
again.
Okay. So the PIN is tied to that unique QR code for that user, and
PIN is tied to the
sorry.
user.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. The
even
PIN is tied to the user.
PIN,
Right.
but the PIN cannot be used with other identifiers such as username or
Right.
phone
Okay.
number. It can be used only with the QR code.
Right.
Yeah.
So if they get a new QR code, say they lost the badge and a new one is generated, that would still continue working
Yeah,
with it. So what's the scenario if someone loses the badge? What would admins need to go in, and
absolutely. So
how they
yeah, so
essentially?
we made it very simple for admins, and not to add any overhead for them. So if someone loses a badge, right, someone loses or someone forgot the badge. There are many cases here. So if you lose the badge, then of course it's a security risk, and we would want you to get rid of that QR code and create a new one. So admin can go into either use MS Graph APIs or use my staff portal, or go to Entra ID portal, and then on the on the edit auth method on the user profile, they can just go to edit and delete that QR code, and then
Okay,
create a new one. So that
nice. So they
yeah,
can treat it
yeah,
like just any other auth
yeah,
method that they
yeah.
have.
And then you don't have to create the whole auth method. The same pin can still work if you don't want user to change the pin again. Same pin can still work. Just remove that QR code on the added method and delete that and create a new one. So deleted QR code will not work anymore in the system. And then you will be creating a new one.
And admins orgs that do want to use a new PIN, they can clear the PIN as well from the user's
Absolutely.
profile.
Yes. So we do not have self-service support in this V1 version. I will be bringing that later. But if PIN needs to be changed, admins can go and create a new temporary PIN for the user, and then they will give that PIN to the user, and then use on subsequent sign-in, user has to change that PIN in the sign-in flow, and then that will become their permanent PIN till the next time it is
Okay,
changed.
cool. Yeah. And so you were saying the My Staff mentioned. So for those who don't know, My Staff is a web app that people can browse to, and it's usually sort of the idea is the managers of these frontline workers can do a lot of the admin work on their behalf.
Yes.
Is that
Yep.
right?
Absolutely. So, they're generally in stores, or maybe in a edu sector, the teachers can act as admins, right? So there's less burden on admins for day-to-day operations. For example, changing the PIN, or giving the new QR code. So all these things can be handled by these delegated admins. So in this case, frontline managers, let's say 10 users are frontline workers are reporting to that manager, right? So they can use this My Staff portal, which runs on admin units, and then they will be able to manage the auth method for them. And it is very simple, intuitive, user interface, so it's not like complex.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so it's like makes things easy to handle and manage.
Right. Okay. And it's just a web app, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken,
Yep.
right? You
Yep.
go,
Yeah.
is it ak.ms/mystuff? And it's there for every tenant, but you would use it only if you set it up, right? And or is it like every manager can see their direct reports?
You have to set it up using admin unit. So you have to, in Entra, you'll be setting up, what is the admin unit, who's the manager, and then
Nice.
also you have to give the delegated auth admin rights to these managers,
Right.
and then these managers will be able to see the users they will be able to manage,
Users.
and then
right.
they will be able to manage the auth methods for them.
Right. So this is like very tightly integrated with the My Staff and like making it so that IT don't need to be involved in
Day-to-day.
this, where users could be very spread out, right? Branch and they're working different shifts, night shifts, and
exactly.
you don't have a help desk. And going to help desk is a longer process for these workers, right? So they just going to the manager and the manager doing it on their behalf would really help things out. Nice. Okay. So that's good. So My Staff admin side of the auth method, can they create, and you said they can create a new badge at that time and print it as well?
So that's very good question. So we can, in case, let's say you forgot your badge at home, right? So printing it again on the badge, again, it's a lengthy process and may take time and also expensive as well. So that's where we have added another type of QR code. So there are two types of QR code on your profile, can be on your profile. One is standard, which is a primary, which you get when, which is a longer lived QR code that is associated with your auth method. Up to right now, we support up to 390 days of lifetime, and we might extend it later. So another one is temporary QR code. So temporary QR code is short-lived QR code. They have a lifetime up to 12 hours or shorter. So let's say you forgot your badge, and then so manager can create a temporary QR code for you. You don't have to create a new PIN. You can use the same PIN, and then manager says your shift is like 7 hours. Let's set the expiry to be 7 hours so that they don't have to go through the
nice.
whole getting rid of the QR code. That's another admin overhead, right? So now you can print that on a paper, or you can print on a label, and then you just carry that label for your shift on that day, and then you get rid of it. You don't have to worry about, I have to save it to stick to my badge and all those things. You use it and throw it. So that kind of saves the cost and the overhead, everything. So that is a kind of additional feature for these scenarios.
Oh, that's super neat. The whole so an org can decide what level of the QR code they want, right? For if they want it to be very short-lived, they can, with the additional overhead for the managers to keep printing it out.
Yeah.
But it's simple, right? If it's simple enough, that's direct.
Yeah.
And then they can also, and so it's an option as an admin when you go to create the QR code, you can decide that.
Yeah.
So they don't need to set up a sign-in frequency and all of that. That's all just natively tied into the QR code itself.
Yep. Yeah, they don't have to do any of that. They just go to existing added auth method and then edit it to add new temp QR code. And when it is expired, it will automatically be in expired and inactive state, and then they will be able to add a new temporary QR code.
Right. Nice. So if an org is like rolling this out, let's say they're going with the permanent QR code, they're printing badges like cards. Can the admin generate a lot of them for all their users and print them? Is there anything that's out of the box, or is it more the API way
Yeah.
that they would do for
Yep.
would use it?
That's a another good question. So we do not have something out of the box today, but we have it in our backlog. But during prior preview, we saw that orgs were able to handle this by themselves by using our Graph API. So you can loop the Graph API where you can use our create auth method
Yeah,
API, yeah, PowerShell,
right?
and
Yeah,
then you can create
yeah,
the for each user. You can create that, feed that into HR system, then it keeps creating and printing. You can automate the process at your end. So that is a possibility today using
right.
PowerShell. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so they can take that, and there's a temporary pin. They set that all up, pass it to the user. Cool. Okay, so that's really a neat experience, and like I would say the least cost from in terms of not requiring devices from
Oh
users.
yeah, that's
Uh,
another thing.
to be able to set it.
Absolutely. So as FIDO is another option for these customers because FIDO is fish registered authentication, and then you do not
Yes. Yeah.
require mobile phone from the users. However,
Yeah.
the cost of these FIDO is a concern for our customers because
Yes. Yeah.
these are temporary frontline workers are temporary workers, and they might not come tomorrow, right? So going through
Yes.
the process of setting it up and then distributing, and then um, this is a investment cost which may get
Yes.
lost
Yeah.
because the devices
Yes.
the FIDO keys are not returned back after their contract is over. So that has been even though it's a very good solution, customers are not able to adopt because it's not cost effective.
Right. Right. Yes. Then we spoke about that in the other earlier podcast as well with McDonald's, like in their scale as well. So many different countries,
Hmm.
they would have their frontline workers, and just the mechanics of distributing it,
Hmm.
uh, it just can't work
Yeah.
for them. And even if for folks I know who are smaller
Hmm.
customers, I worked over in Australia. There's one where they use FIDO keys for all of like in the post offices in Australia,
Hmm.
and so all the workers there, they use FIDO keys, and it's a good experience. But they had to work really hard to get to that point to
Hmm.
make it secure and simple enough
Hmm.
to tap and sign in and so on.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's there. So that's a good segue into this whole MFA
Yeah.
side of the question, which I'm sure people who have been listening have been waiting, like, what's MFA? Like, where is the MFA part of
Yeah.
this, and how does all this work? Can it do MFA or not?
Hmm.
And versus how you see it versus the MFA on like FIDO
Hmm.
2 and other technologies.
Yeah.
So yeah, if we can set the stage for what you are considering here in this space
I'm
when
going
it
to
comes to
disappoint.
MFA.
I'm going to disappoint our listeners because, unfortunately, it is not a MFA method. Even though it can qualify by theory, and we have a patent, which kind of, and this solution lies under that patent. The reason it cannot qualify for MFA because the QR code is in a printed form, and when you have something in printed form, it can be easily stolen. So we understand that risk. Hence, it is not a MFA. And we also understand, simplicity and security, as I said, they are at the opposite end of the spectrum. Um, so it's very hard to build something which is very secure and yet very simple.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
and not
And costless.
and cost effective and doesn't require a dedicated
Yeah.
device, right? So
Right.
so PIN here is acting as a credential. However, even though it is a single factor, we have published our best practices for frontline workers. following the guidelines, you can make it secure. So couple of suggestions from us are, number one, use our Entra ID conditional access policies. So you make sure you restrict the usage of QR code authentication within your network, in your stores,
Right.
and then on
Yeah.
shared devices, because that's for what we have built it for, shared devices and compliant devices, so that nobody abuses it. And then if your users needs to access your resources from outside of your network or non-compliant devices, make sure use fish resistant methods or use MFA solutions on top of QR code authentication. You can combine any factor with QR code authentication for MFA, so that still works.
So that could be layered in, right?
Yes.
Which is because in the Microsoft Entra terminology, there are only certain auth methods today that can be treated as first factor, right? Because usually you need the username and password and then something else. FIDO 2 and security keys and pass keys are one way to say they are a first factor, so you don't need a username at all. And QR code is now also another first factor auth.
Absolutely.
So I'm assuming if a customer wants, let's say, a use case where in the office, the frontline workers are using the QR code to sign into the kiosk or the shared devices. But let's say they also have Teams and maybe they see their booking and shift details on Teams. And for those who do want to see it from home, they can install the Teams app and they can then use that same QR code to sign in. But an org can decide and say, okay, if you are signing in from home, then you do have to do QR. Like you can do the QR code, that's fine. That's your first factor. You don't need to remember different username and password. But then you still need to do either an SMS or an authenticator app,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
you can combine that with authentication strength to partition
Yeah.
those.
We do not have combinations in authentication strength yet, but let's say you have enabled MFA. So out of the box, whatever the available MFA for users are, users will be prompted those MFA options once you do
Nice.
QR
Okay.
code. So you don't have to
So you don't even need to
yeah,
configure auth
Yeah, you
strength,
don't have to
right?
do that.
Right. If you just said, right. So if you just ask for MFA, they could just sign in with username and password if they know it, or they can use the QR code, and then they'll still be prompted by conditional access policy that says you came in with only one factor, your first single factor, and now you need to do
Correct.
another
Yeah,
factor.
and these are your
Nice. So there's
available.
no change even
Yeah,
required.
exactly.
Nice.
Yes. So it works out of the box.
Yeah, so that's good. Like it's one less thing to configure
Yeah.
in auth strength and a CA. Like the less I touch CA policies, the better as an admin. So this is inherently it's good. So you only need to make like an exclusion for the using the QR code within the local network or
Share
whatever
device,
the
yeah,
way
complaint,
you're
yeah.
trying to partition.
So that's how you add the security layer on top of, QR code authentication. So yeah.
Nice. So it gives some like a nice, just a new external, like not sorry, a new authentication method to the whole repertoire of other auth methods that an organization has for the different sort of use case scenarios
Yeah.
that are there.
Yeah.
And yes, it's not MFA.
Yeah.
You can't really say that it's MFA, but it's a lot better than you people sharing the passwords and just not being able to even sign in, right? Where a manager can issue the QR code in a secure way, because a lot of these folks, they'll forget, and like that's the big thing, right? They'll forget their username because it's not something they
Because
rarely
they have
use.
different usernames at different places, right?
Yes, yeah, they might be shift workers in different yeah, that's the other thing, right? They might be working in 2 or 3 places and they wouldn't know which one is what. So either they reuse the password and so on. So this even reduces that risk, right? Where the chance of a reuse of password and like the leak credential and all going is a little less, because you're using the pins and the QR code.
Yep.
Nice.
And as per our guidelines, we have we have asked our admins that do not enable it for everyone, do not enable for it for your IT workers,
Okay.
right? Enable it only for the group you who needs this. So enable it only for your frontline worker and for your IT workers who can use their phone and who are tech savvy and have fish resistant methods for them, which are, for example, passkey, which is which has great usability and faster if you have your own device where it is saved or synced.
The device. Right. Nice. One thing I was thinking is, say we've rolled it out and people, maybe they're using an iPad or some device and they're out somewhere remote. And they try to use a card. For some reason, their camera doesn't work or lighting is bad, whatever. Can they fall back to the username if they know their
Yes.
username and password?
Yes. So it's as of today in Entra,
Yeah.
when you create a user, a password is created for them, so they can always fall back to username and password if for some reason this auth method is not working for them.
And they need to have known it and set it up as well, right? So those things are there, but it's a fallback
Yeah,
for them.
yeah, definitely. And you can always, let's say you do not know you can always, if you're not sure, you can always get it from help desk. Okay, what is your username and what is your temporary password, and then
Yes, at the time, right? So those are like a fallback of, okay, your device doesn't work and things like that. They can call the help desk, and like the help desk can give them even a tap, I
oh
would
yeah,
say, right? If they
exactly.
validate the person,
Yeah.
they could give them a temporary access pass for those scenarios where they can fall back. Nice. So this rounds out all of the intra-auth method offerings really well for this sort of frontline worker
Scenario.
use case
Yeah.
scenario, right? Because yeah, that's what a lot of people have been asking you, because they want a better experience than typing that whole username. People are tied into typing just the username without the UPN, and with Entra we always enforce the complete username. So I've got a lot of asks for, like, I just want to use only the username and where it should work everywhere. So this this sort of helps in that flow.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Nice.
we just rolled out in public preview, so we'll be looking at adoption, how we're doing, so hopefully we'll have more data insights and more customer feedback coming in soon. So
Yes. And that's one of the asks for the podcast, right, listeners as well, to try it out and to give us, because that's the reason why we have the public preview, to give us a lot of feedback, because we can help shape the experience and the future updates for like GA and post GA will be coming in through this,
yeah,
right? In
yep,
terms of
yes. Customer feedback always matters because that's for whom we build this product. So we want our customers to use it and let us know how we can improve it further. So we are getting, for example, give us desktop, sign-in experience with QR code, things like that. So I would encourage our customers to share with us what you need, and what is your priority, what it is missing right now, or improvement suggestions, so that we can make this better from the end user experience perspective and as well as admin experience perspective.
Right. So today, just to scope it out, it only works on mobiles, and mobiles can be, browsers work out of the box on
Yeah.
mobile. And if it's an app, they need to do something on the app side, or like in the Microsoft apps, do all the apps support it, or is it just Teams?
Yeah. So right now our scope is the mobile devices and iPads, tablets. It will work on the native apps and as well as on web sign-ins. So generally on for Microsoft applications right now, um, if so let me put it this way: if an app is using web sign-in view, which is just launching login.microsoft.com view, then they will get it out of box. But then user has to do 2 clicks before they are able to click QR code sign in.
Right. There
Yeah,
are other options.
yeah. And the reason we put it under 2 clicks because it is only applicable for small set of users, and we don't want to expose it to everyone and
Right.
have them confused. So maybe
Yeah.
down the road we'll up level this. Another way to up level this entry point, QR code entry point, is by and this is only for native app, not for web app, right? For native apps, they can configure the QR code entry point, show that QR code, sign with QR code on their login page by using our MSAL library. We have published a snippet, code snippet on our public documentation. It's very small, so they can just use it to integrate and show up level the sign-in entry of with QR code, on the first page to the end users.
Right. Right. Okay. And if someone goes to the desktop, they'll never see this in any of the desktop, like Teams desktop app today, right?
No. So that that was not a primary use case we have heard from our customers. So we were very much focused on what we can deliver within the time and the bandwidth we had. So that's where we could not release it for desktop browsers or native apps. They won't say.
Also, even if you go on the browser, you don't see the option.
We have
the desktop browser.
We have blocked it.
Right.
There is a reported issue that still few customers sees it because of edge case, so we are actually blocking it. We don't want to release something without having it properly tested. So that's the reason we have to block it, because we could not, we do not have the bandwidth to.
Yeah, it's not a supported scenario, and you don't want people to even accidentally using it, right?
Because
so you're right. Yeah, because there are so many, when it comes to desktop, so many cameras and various other lots of things you need to take into account. So yes, that makes sense. And yes, that paints a much better picture about what QR code auth is and what are the scenarios you're trying to solve, and so on. Nice. This has been so fascinating, Anju. Anju, so if someone want to give feedback, what's the best way they can give? Is it through the Azure portal? I know we have ways to give feedback through there, through the blades. Are there any other ways they can
absolutely
share?
I think Entra ID portal, and then you can always create a customer support ticket, or if you're already working with our Microsoft the account teams, just share it with them, and then we will receive it, the feedback, and we can then connect to discuss more, and learn more from the customer.
Nice. Cool. And any closing thoughts, like about the feature, anything we missed you wanted to cover?
Yeah, thank you. I think we have covered almost about QR code authentication. One thing I would like to call out is, we have heard from our customers that they need barcode scanners to be able to scan the QR code. Right now, we are supporting only device cameras. So if we would love to partner with customers in future if they're still looking for that solution. Right now, we would still, even if that is a primary use case, we would still encourage our customers to try this feature, because once they try, they will know the pain point, and then they will let us know, and then we'll solve their pain point. That's what we do here.
Yeah, and then eventually, when it becomes available, it'll be usable, right, for their scenario as well. Nice. Very excited about this, and I'm sure you have lots of plans for this feature, and it's going to be all based on feedback and how we see the usage grow and so on. So this is just the start, right? You'd say, of this feature.
Yeah, absolutely. But I would say, my closing thought would be that please pilot this feature in your stores, and engage with us, help us learn, and improve the experience.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you so much, Anju, for taking the time today to share with us on a Friday evening. But very much appreciated.
Thank you, Meryl, for inviting me.
Awesome.
Is it like morning for
Okay,
you?
folks. You.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's morning for me. Yeah, it's a Saturday morning for me. I live in the future in Melbourne.
Oh, it's a weekend for you. So it's a weekend project for you.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it depends. It's usually the weekend anyway that I do my newsletter and prepare the podcast for the next week. So it's fun. It's getting it all together and like speaking with you and others and learning about Entra is so much fun.
Yeah.
And I like sharing it. Even if I didn't do the podcast, like having these conversations have been so useful, like even for me.
Yeah.
So I really love it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's actually, thank you so much. It's engaging and exciting. And I think what you're doing is awesome and, kind of inspiring. Uh, Definitely for others to learn from.
Yeah, it's ways of helping out our overall like our ecosystem and community. Cool, awesome. Thanks a lot everyone for joining me.